The betrayal behind the social network. Welcome to the Cinema Meetup channel. Do you often talk about the dream or the wish of having a successful startup, or about how an idea can change the world? Today, let's talk about the price you have to pay for that success. More precisely, let's discuss the movie The Social Network, and we'll unpack the business betrayal that always haunts entrepreneurs.
I'm gonna call you back.
This movie is not a how-to tutorial for creating a big, successful company. It's a documentation of how ambition, intelligence, and connections can destroy ethics, friendship, and conscience. The Social Network is the story of a genius kid who wanted to be accepted for who he was. But instead, he built a massively wealthy empire that ultimately separated him from everyone. This isn't just about billions of dollars, you know? It's about the relatability of feeling abandoned, betrayed, and watching an idea you financed snatched away by someone you trusted. This is a very cold human drama played out behind a hot computer screen. Let's start with Eduardo Saverin. He wasn't a programmer. He was the only person who believed in Mark when Mark was a nobody. Remember the scene where Mark broke up with his girlfriend, Erica? Mark was dumped, and in his rage he created Facemash. It was mean, but it was the spark that proved his execution intelligence. When Mark realized he could build something bigger, a social directory for Harvard, he needed capital. And this is where Eduardo made a fatal mistake, a mistake that is relatable for many of us just starting out. Eduardo gave him $1,000. He paid Mark. He became the chief financial officer, CFO, with a 30% stake. Without many tight legal documents. Hey, they were friends. Who needs a lawyer when you have a problem with your best friend? Eduardo saw the potential, but he also saw his friend. In his mind, this was a fun side project. In Mark's mind, this was war. Mark didn't just want to build a site, he wanted to build the site, the one that would elevate his social status. Eduardo then moved to New York for a summer internship. He was busy looking for ads, looking for slow revenue for their company. He played it safe. On the other hand, Mark moved to Palo Alto, California. Totally different environment. There was Sean Parker, the tech rock star, the wild founder of Napster, and he saw billion-dollar potential in Mark, not just $1,000. Parker said, "Drop the ads, Mark. Focus on growth. You don't need ad money. You need venture capital." Mark's decision to move to California was brilliant for business, but it was the death knell for his friendship with Eduardo. Eduardo from New York felt abandoned. He panicked when Mark needed server rent money and he froze the accounts, which he was legally entitled to do as CFO. But for Mark, that was a betrayal of his company's vision. In Mark's eyes, Eduardo was the brakes slowing down his rocket ship. And that's where Sean Parker took control. Parker brought the first term sheet from major investors. This was real money, but real money comes with a cruel term sheet. They performed a company restructuring. This is a sweet word for legalized betrayal. Under the pretense of establishing a new, larger entity, Mark and Parker reorganized the share ownership. Eduardo, he was asked to sign a contract that, ouch, diluted his shares from over 30% to a mere 0.03%, shrunk by 1,000th of the original stake until it was practically nothing.
0.03%.
Imagine you put in the initial money, you believed in the future vision, and you are sitting there signing a document that pushes you out of your biggest profit. The look on Eduardo's face when he realized what he signed, that's a pain we can all feel. It wasn't just a financial loss. It was a carefully packaged vengeance. This teaches us. In business, always read the fine print, even if it's handed to you by your best friend. Then there's the Winklevoss drama. The rowing twins. Besides being rich, the twins had the social status Mark yearned for. These twins had the first idea for the Harvard social network, Harvard Connection. They hired Mark to code the platform. They trusted him. They gave him their trust. Mark agreed, but he never delivered the code. Instead, he used that time to build the Facebook. Now, here lies the ethical debate. Did Mark steal the idea? Or were the twins too slow, too arrogant, and too naive to move fast? Mark himself in the film argues, "If you guys had a good idea, You wouldn't be waiting for someone else to do it.
I didn't know that. Tell me more.
This is relatable for every creator. How many of us have brilliant ideas but are afraid to execute them? The twins were busy practicing rowing, debating ethics, while Mark was busy executing the idea. Although legally they eventually received a large compensation, roughly $65 million, they are forever branded as the people who almost created Facebook. The lesson here? Speed and execution beat claims of copyright. But Mark's actions still demonstrated a betrayal of his professional promise. And what about Sean Parker, the architect of all this betrayal? He was the one who pushed Mark to be ruthless, the one who taught Mark how to do business in Silicon Valley. Well, even snakes can get bitten. Parker, the too wild rock star, became a liability. After a drug-related arrest incident, the board of directors, which Parker himself had pushed Mark to form, kicked him out. A bitter irony. Parker taught Mark to be cruel, and Mark used that lesson to remove him.
Eduardo was involved.
In the end, the movie concludes with Mark alone in a deposition room, surrounded by lawyers, and the left Mark alone, refreshing his Facebook page, waiting for a friend accept notification from his ex-girlfriend, Erica. He won all the cases, he had untold wealth, but he had no friends and he had no love. He lost the people who knew him before he became Mark Zuckerberg, the social media tech god. This movie, my friends, is a stark reminder that the most important how-to in business is choosing the right partners, setting clear boundaries, and protecting yourself with contracts, not just with trust. We relate to the naive Eduardo, we relate to the angry twins. We see the final outcome of a protagonist who solved his problem, creating a global platform at a very high cost, the loss of his humanity. So, when you build your startup, when you create a project with your friends, remember Eduardo Saverin's face. Take inspiration from Mark's speed and execution, but learn from his betrayal. Because in this world, financial success can be bought, but lost trust is priceless. What do you think? Is Mark a cruel genius, or just a pragmatic businessman? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.